In the mists of ancient Ireland, where rolling hills met the sky and the clash of spears rang through the valleys, a saga unfolded that would etch itself into the soul of a nation. The boar, or the cattle raid of Cooley, stands as the crown jewel of the Ulster cycle, a collection of tales that weave together heroism, tragedy, and the divine. This epic recounts a war sparked by greed, fought with valor, and shaped by the hands of gods and mortals alike. At its heart lies a single, magnificent bull, Dan, and the indomitable spirit of Cú Chulainn, the Hound of Ulster, whose name would echo through the ages. In the island of the wealth was measured not in gold but in cattle, the lifeblood of a pastoral people. Herds were the currency of power, the pride of chieftains, and the foundation of alliances. To own a great bull was to command respect, for such a beast symbolized fertility, strength, and divine favor. The land was divided into 5 provinces: Ulster, Connaught, Leinster, Munster, and Meath, each ruled by fierce kings and queens whose ambitions often led to bloodshed. It was a time when honor was paramount, loyalty was sworn in blood, and the gods walked among mortals, their whispers guiding the fates of tribes. The tale begins in the royal stronghold of Cruachan, in the western province of Connaught, where Queen Medb ruled alongside her husband, King Cooley. Medb was no ordinary queen, a woman of striking beauty, iron will, and unmatched cunning. She wielded power with the authority of a warrior and the guile of a poet. Her ambition burned brighter than the hearths of her hall, and her pride was a force as unyielding as the mountains. Yet, for all her strength, Medb was driven by a restless need to prove herself equal to or greater than any man, including her husband. One fateful night, as Medb and Ailill lay in their chamber, a playful argument turned into a spark that would ignite a war. Comparing their wealth, they tallied their treasures, warriors, and cattle, only to discover that their fortunes were equal, save for one detail. Ailill possessed Finnbhennach, the white-horned bull, a creature of such majesty that it was said to be blessed by the gods. Medb had no beast to rival it, and the realization stung her pride like a blade. Determined to restore her supremacy, Medb set her sights on Dan the brown bull of Cooley, a legendary creature said to dwell in the hills of Ulster. Its strength was unmatched, its lineage divine, and its possession would tip the balance of power in her favor. Medb's ambition was matched only by her cunning. She knew that Ulster, though a land of mighty warriors, was vulnerable. Long ago, the goddess Marcha, wronged by the men of Ulster, had cursed the province. When danger loomed, the warriors of Ulster would be struck by a debilitating weakness, a torment akin to the pains of childbirth, rendering them helpless for days. This curse, born of divine wrath, was Medb's opportunity. With Ulster's defenders incapacitated, she believed her army could sweep through the province, seize the bull, and return to Connaught in triumph. Medb assembled a vast host, drawing warriors from Connaught and her allies in Leinster. Among them were chieftains, druids, and champions, including Fergus Mac, an exiled Ulster warrior who knew the secrets of his former homeland. Her forces were a tide of iron and ambition, their banners fluttering like storm clouds as they marched toward the border of Ulster. Medb's plan was bold, but fraught with risk, for even a cursed land could harbor unforeseen dangers. In the shadow of this gathering storm stood a lone figure, Cú Chulainn, the greatest hero of Ulster. Barely 17, Cú Chulainn was no ordinary youth. Born, he had earned his name, the Hound of Chulainn. After slaying a fierce guard dog in his childhood and vowing to take its place as a protector, trained by the finest warriors and druids, Cú Chulainn was a prodigy, his body honed for battle, his mind sharp as a blade. His strength was said to be a gift from the god Law, his father, and his prowess was matched only by his loyalty to Ulster. When word reached Cú Chulainn of Medb's approaching army, he found his people stricken by Macca's curse, their warriors writhing in agony, unable to lift a sword. The weight of Ulster's defense fell upon his young shoulders, but Cú Chulainn did not falter. With his faithful charioteer and his trusty steed, the Grey of Marcher, he rode to the borderlands, determined to hold the line alone. What followed was a campaign of unparalleled heroism. Cú Chulainn waged a guerrilla war against Medb's forces, using the rugged hills and forests of Cooley to his advantage. He struck like a phantom, ambushing patrols, sowing fear, and challenging Canucks champions to single combat at the fords of rivers, a sacred tradition in Irish warfare. Each duel was a spectacle of skill and courage, with Cú Chulainn wielding his spear, the bolga, a weapon so deadly it could pierce any foe. His battle frenzy, known as the transformed him into a whirlwind of destruction, his body contorting with supernatural power, his eyes blazing like fire. The is not merely a tale of physical prowess, but a tapestry of emotional and moral complexity. Nowhere is this more evident than in Cú Chulainn's duel with Ferdiad, his closest friend and foster brother. Ferdiad, a warrior of immense skill, had trained alongside Cú Chulainn under the warrior woman in the land of shadows. Their bond was forged in laughter, shared hardships, and mutual respect, a brotherhood stronger than iron. Medb, aware of Ferdiad's prowess, lured him to her side with promises of wealth and honor, though Ferdiad's heart was heavy with reluctance. When the time came for him to face Cú Chulainn at the ford, the two warriors stood as equals, their spears gleaming in the dawn light. For days they fought, neither yielding, their blows shaking the earth. They spoke between bouts, reminiscing about their youth, their voices thick with sorrow. On the final day, Cú Chulainn unleashed the bolga, a thrust that tore through Ferdiad's armor and ended his life. As Ferdiad fell, Cú Chulainn cradled his friend's body, weeping for the cost of duty. The victory was hollow, a wound that would never heal. Despite Cú Chulainn's heroics, Medb's forces pressed on, their numbers too great for one man to halt entirely. Through guile and persistence, they captured Dan and began their retreat to Connacht. But the bull's theft came at a terrible price. Medb's army was battered, her champions slain, and her alliances strained. The brown bull, now in Connacht, faced Finn Banach in a fateful clash, a battle of titans that shook the earth. In a final act of primal fury, Dan slew the white-horned bull but succumbed to his wounds, leaving both provinces bereft of their prized beasts. The ends not with triumph, but with a somber reckoning. Medb's ambition had brought ruin to her forces, while Ulster, though saved, bore the scars of conflict. Cú Chulainn, exhausted and heartbroken, emerged as a hero whose legend would endure, but at the cost of his youth and innocence. The tale is a meditation on the futility of greed, the fragility of honor, and the sacrifices demanded of those who stand against the tide. The boar is steeped in the supernatural, reflecting the ancient Irish belief in a world where gods, spirits, and mortals coexisted. The goddess, a shape-shifting deity of war and fate, weaves through the narrative, at times aiding Cú Chulainn, at others testing his resolve. Druids cast spells, omens guide decisions, and the landscape itself, rivers, hills, and sacred stones, pulses with divine energy. The curse of Marcha, the power of the Bolga, and the mythic stature of Dan all underscore the interplay between the mortal and the divine, a hallmark of Celtic mythology. The epic also mirrors the social and political realities of ancient Ireland. Cattle raids were a fact of life, a ritualized form of warfare that tested a tribe's strength and cunning. Medb's raid, though driven by personal pride, reflects the broader struggle for dominance among Ireland's kingdoms. Her character challenges traditional gender roles, embodying both the nurturing and destructive aspects of sovereignty, a duality revered in Irish goddesses like the boar is more than a story. It is a cornerstone of Irish identity, preserved through centuries of oral tradition before being committed to vellum by monastic scribes. Its verses, rich with poetry and prose, capture the cadence of a culture that valued eloquence as much as valor. The tale has inspired countless retelling, from medieval manuscripts to modern novels, plays, and films, each generation finding new meaning in its themes of heroism, sacrifice, and the human condition. Cú Chulainn remains Ireland's quintessential hero, a symbol of resilience and loyalty. His statue stands in Dublin's General Post Office, a nod to his role as an emblem of resistance during Ireland's struggle for independence. The hills of Cooley, where the raid unfolded, are a living monument to the Corn, their contours whispering of battles fought and legends born. Scholars study the epic for its insights into Iron Age society, while artists draw on its imagery to evoke the wild beauty of Ireland's past. At its core, there is a story of what it means to be human in a world governed by forces beyond control. Medb's ambition, Cú Chulainn's courage, and Ferdiad's sacrifice speak to universal truths: the allure of power, the burden of duty, and the pain of loss. As long as Ireland's rivers flow and its stories are told, the boar will endure, a testament to the strength of a people and the timeless power of their myths. Many thanks for treading this tale's dark path. If its chill gripped you, like, subscribe, and comment below.